A very good day to all of you children. In today's lesson, let's discuss on genetic basis of oral diseases. Can you name some of the very common oral diseases? They are dental caries, periodontitis and oral cancer. Let's first consider about the genetic basis of dental caries. As you have already learned, dental caries is a multifactorial disease. Do you know why it's called a multifactorial disease? It's because many factors such as bacterial factors, host factors, then dietary factors such as consumption of starch and sugar-rich foods, and also oral hygienic practices such as brushing teeth using a fluoride-containing toothpaste can influence the development of dental caries. If we look at the bacterial factors such as their ability to adhere to teeth and develop a biofilm, and their ability to produce acids so that they can demineralize our teeth, and also their ability to withstand acids so that they can survive in a high acidic environment. All these factors are determined by bacterial genes. Similarly, if we look at the host factors such as the antibacterial compounds in saliva, then the concentration of salivary buffers and the strength of teeth, they are determined by host genes. Of course, the strength of teeth can be determined by regular brushing of teeth containing a fluoride containing toothpaste, and also by including calcium and phosphorus rich foods in our diet. But still, host genes will determine the synthesis of enamel matrix proteins and their ideal arrangement, which will determine the perfect mineralization of our enamel. If bacterial genes can enhance these characteristics of a bacterium, the virulence of that bacterium will increase. And if somebody is harboring such a bacterium in his oral cavity, he will very easily develop dental caries. On the other hand, if the host genes can enhance these characteristics, then the host resistance to cariogenic bacteria will increase. So that is how the bacterial genes and host genes will determine the development of dental caries. Then let's look at the genetic basis of periodontitis. Just like dental caries, periodontitis also is a multifactorial disease. Here also, bacterial factors are determined by bacterial genes and host factors are determined by host genes. If the bacterial genes can enhance these features in periodontopathic bacteria, their virulence will increase. On the other hand, if the host genes can enhance these features in the host, its resistance to periodontopathic bacteria will increase. Ultimately, whether a person will develop periodontitis or not will be partly determined by bacterial genes and host genes. Now let's have a look at the genetic basis of oral cancer. In cancers, Two major groups of genes can be mutated. One of them is proto-oncogenes and the other one is tumor suppressor genes. These proto-oncogenes are usually present in all our normal cells, and when they are expressed, they will produce proteins such as growth factors and growth factor receptors, which are essential for normal cell proliferation in our body. When proto-oncogenes are mutated, they will be converted into oncogenes. Do you know what's meant by onco? Onco means cancer. So, oncogenes can convert the normal cells into cancer cells. Generally, the mutations which convert proto-oncogenes into oncogenes are gain of function mutations. That is, their activity will be increased after the mutation. And also, these mutations are dominant. That is, a mutation in one of the two alleles is sufficient to cause cancer. When this proto-oncogene has been converted into an oncogene, what has happened to the product? The product will be the same, but it will be produced in higher than normal levels, or else it will be produced in the cells where they are not normally expressed, or else the product will be a slightly abnormal protein which will have a prolonged action. In both these instances, the end result will be increased rate of cell proliferation leading to cancer. We can compare these proto-oncogenes to the accelerator in a vehicle. It is essential to have a ride in the vehicle. But if we accelerate it more than necessary, the vehicle will go out of control and crash. Then if we look at tumor suppressor genes, they also are usually present in our normal cells. When they are expressed, they will produce tumor suppressor proteins. The most important tumor suppressor gene in our body is P53. This is considered the guardian of our genome. And when it is expressed, it will produce P53 protein. Generally, these tumor suppressor proteins are essential to stop the cell proliferation when their DNA are mutated. So, how can these tumor suppressor proteins stop the cell cycle if the DNA are mutated? First of all, these proteins will screen the cellular DNA at every checkpoint of the cell cycle. And if they detect a DNA mutation, they will arrest the cell cycle. That means the cells will not be allowed to go beyond that checkpoint. Then these tumor suppressor proteins will induce the synthesis of DNA repair enzymes in those cells. What is the function of DNA repair enzymes? They will stimulate the repair of mutated DNA. So after repair, they can once again enter into the cell cycle. But if these DNA mutations are beyond repair, then these proteins will advise the cells to undergo apoptosis. Apoptosis is another term for cell death. So likewise, these tumor suppressor proteins in our cells will never allow the cells with damaged DNA to enter into the cell cycle or progress in the cell cycle. That is, only if that individual is perfectly normal. Generally, mutations in these tumor suppressor genes are loss of function mutations. That means the activity of this gene will be lost after the mutation. And the mutant gene will give rise to an abnormal protein which will not be able to perform any of these functions. Therefore, cells with mutated DNA will progress through the cell cycle and proliferate, giving rise to a cancer. We can compare these tumor suppressor genes to a brake system in a vehicle. The brake system is essential for us to have a safe ride. And if the brake system is not functioning properly, the vehicle will go out of control and crash. So breakdown of this brake system is similar to mutation of a tumor suppressor gene. Likewise, gain of function mutations in proto-oncogenes as well as loss of function mutations in tumor suppressor genes can give rise to cancer. Now I have some questions for you. How can these proto-oncogenes and tumor suppressor genes get mutated? They are mutated through exposure to mutagens. What are these mutagens? There are several types of mutagens: chemical mutagens, physical mutagens, and biological mutagens. Out of them, the chemical mutagens in tobacco is very important in oral carcinogenesis. Out of biological mutagens, human papillomavirus is important in oral carcinogenesis. And usually, these chemical mutagens and physical mutagens mutate our DNA through generation of free radicals. But biological mutagens can directly get inserted into the host DNA and cause cancer. For example, when human papillomavirus invades the oral epithelial cells, their DNA will get inserted into our chromosomes. And then this DNA will direct the synthesis of viral oncoproteins within our cells using our own protein synthesizing machinery. And these viral oncoproteins will ultimately impair the functions or degrade p53 and p-retinoblastoma proteins. These proteins are the products of p53 and p-retinoblastoma tumor suppressor genes. What you are seeing here is a cancer lesion in the oral cavity which is caused by human papillomavirus. Now you know that mutations in proto-oncogenes as well as tumor suppressor genes can cause cancers. So what is the most frequently mutated gene in human cancers? That is p53. It is not surprising because p53 is the guardian of our genome. When the guardian is non-functional, mutations can accumulate in our genome and give rise to cancers. By the way, do you know that elephants are resistant to cancer even though they are long-lived like us? What's the reason for that? That's because when we are having only a single pair of p53 genes, elephants have 20 pairs of these genes. So even if one of them is mutated, the rest of the p53 genes can look after their genome. Now we have completed our discussion on the genetic basis of common oral diseases. They are dental caries, periodontitis and oral cancer. So all these diseases are multifactorial and therefore genetic alterations are just one of these factors. But there are certain rare disorders with oral manifestations where the one and only causative agent is a genetic alteration. Some of these diseases are chromosomal disorders. And certain other diseases are monogenic disorders. Anyway, I'm not going to discuss about these chromosomal disorders and monogenic disorders in detail today, since we have discussed about them in our previous lesson. In our next lesson, let's see how to diagnose, treat and manage these diseases using molecular biology techniques. Until then, stay safe.